That's what Jesus wants us to do. That was the typical answer. It didn't matter what question.
It was always on Jesus.
I had no idea that not everybody lived the same way. Everything I've been through, it has just given me the knowledge that I know inside that I am a very strong woman.
Yes. So that was a preview of today's story where Ruth unveils experiences of spiritual, mental, emotional, physical, and sexual abuse within a religious community, as well as experiences of childhood trauma through surviving her divorce, single parenting, and the tragic loss of her daughter. Ruth shares vulnerably and courageously today how she survived and is now a voice of hope and courage for others who can relate. Hey guys, it's Angela with the Angela Rose Show, where we unveil stories of religious abuse. Today, I'm so honored to have my friend Ruth with us. Ruth traveled, 5.5 hours to the studio. Ruth originates from a very conservative Mennonite community and has a story of incredible resilience to share with us today. I'm just deeply honored you traveled all this way to gift this with our audience. So Ruth, I know you wanted to start out sharing a really powerful quote. So let's go.
I did. And first of all, thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
So what I'd like to begin, I love this quote, is some of our most painful losses are not fully perceived by the people around us, but that doesn't make them any less worthy of being seen or grieved. Most of the time, I can be in a room full of people and be smiling and not be seen.
I feel that.
So,
wow.
I thought that might resonate with you.
Very much. That's why I was just like, I was like, wow, I feel like that's the story of my life. And I think that's such a reflection of how trauma impacts us, because it really does impact us in ways where you can be, feeling very invisible, surrounded by many faces.
Yes,
is
very much so.
Very, and that's why this story work is so important to me, is that we can gift each other these scenarios and our story experiences and realize that we're not alone in the way we feel and the things that we can feel very isolated or invisible around. So it's powerful. So tell us a little bit about your history.
Okay.
Yeah.
I grew up in a Amish Mennonite community, and I grew up on a farm, and there was it was very isolated. And by that I mean there were not a lot of people around. It was just very isolated. I grew up in a family of boys. I had 6 brothers, and I was the only girl, the middle of the family, or the siblings. And so I want to start by telling you the very earliest childhood memory that I have. A lot of it I can picture in my mind. And I see this little girl about 5 years old running through the yard. And we had this big yard that it was pretty long, and I can just see her running through the yard, and all she was wearing was a t-shirt. And I can hear footsteps behind her as she was running. And all at once, these footsteps got closer and closer. And the next thing I remember is laying on the grass. I mean, I can feel the grass. I could take you to the exact spot. in the yard, and I just feel this heavy feeling on my chest. I hear the breathing in my ear, and the next minute I feel this excruciating pain. And so that is my earliest memory. That pain, the physical, emotional, and invisible, that stayed buried deep inside of me all my life. It is just recently that I have allowed myself to go back there and to think about that. Another thing that I remember about my childhood was the fact that I was often accused of lying. It didn't matter. Was I lying? Was I not lying? I was accused of lying. The form of punishment for lying for me at our house, I have no idea what it was for the boys, but I know what it was for me. And that was to be locked in the root cellar. And for those of you that don't know what a root cellar is, it's this, usually it's a part of a basement, and it has these, usually it's not, it's kind of like clammy clay walls, that kind of thing. Often the floor is gravel, and that is where the root vegetables are stored for the winter.
Yeah.
Also, our family would
So you backing up, you're saying the punishment that they would give was to put you in this cellar.
yes.
You were isolated as a punishment.
Yes, and I was locked in there. There was a little concrete block that I could sit on, and I was locked in there. The lights were turned off, and this was very traumatizing for a young child.
Right.
I could just feel the spiders, all different sizes. I could just feel them because I had seen them earlier, in this basement, and I could just feel them, and I could hear the mice scurrying about. And I have no idea how long I was left there, but apparently it was what my mom deemed as long enough. And she would come to the door and she would ask if I was sorry. And of course, I was sorry.
Right.
It didn't matter what I had done or didn't do. I was sorry.
Right.
And so
you were traumatized from that.
Yes, that is another memory that has stuck with me.
Absolutely.
All these years to this day, I have this absolutely terror of being in a basement.
Wow. Makes sense. It's a devastating core memory for a child. You mentioned, I wanted to take note where you mentioned being punished for being accused of lying, but you're saying you would have been punished for things that were not valid to actually what you were falsely accused and handed out punishment on something that was not true. And that is such another, I just wanted to acknowledge that. I don't really feel like I have words for that, but I felt that and resonate and relate to what that was like when I was young as well, and just the powerlessness of being accused of something and you couldn't defend yourself.
Yes.
That was tough.
Another part that is really a part of my story was the alone feeling. First of all, I didn't have any sisters to communicate with, and no friends because we were isolated. And at the time we went to this, it was a conservative Mennonite church, but for me, I had to dress very conservative, just like a step above Amish. And so when the other little girls were running around there wearing their Hair and ponytails were maybe braids. They're frilly dresses.
Yeah.
I was dressed in with my hair pulled back tightly, with the hair up, and a bonnet on my head. And I was the only one that had to dress like that in the church. And after church, when the other little girls could go play, run, be with their friends, I was required to stand quietly right next to my mom until they were ready to go home. So I really did not have the opportunity to make any friends at church.
You were fully isolated. So it's just like, wow, I'm speechless, because it's like you're in a culture of people, community of people that are insular and isolated from the main society. And yet within that culture, you were isolated within
Yes.
your own community. You were deprived of friendships, connections, because your family was unique even within the community, if that would be a way to put it.
Yes.
Like your standard of having to dress put you in a place of, again, that is tough when you're a kid. Wow. Was there did your family, did your parents believe that, to have you in a bonnet was just a more, you had to wear a bonnet, the other girls didn't at that age? It was just they, a pious standard that they wanted for you guys.
Yes. It was very much what my mom believed, and she believed that verse, train up a child. And so for her, it was very much start me out young.
Very rigid.
Very rigid. And I guess hoping that I would never depart from that.
So I hear a lot of fear-based control and fear-based teaching. Yeah.
So that was part of church.
Okay.
And then we go to school.
Yeah.
So then I went to an Amish school. Amish school only goes to 8th grade. But I went to an Amish school. So there, again, I did not fit in because I was too fancy for them. Wow. So, again, it was like I just didn't fit. However, I did meet friends there. And so for the first time in my life, going to school was actually an escape, and I loved school. I loved everything about school. Everything. Could not get my hands on enough books.
Really?
I would, every Friday night, I would load up my arms with all of my school books, and I would take them along home, and they were my best friends. And
fascinating.
Once I could read, that is where that has always been. It is still. To this day, I love reading.
Well, that's interesting, because I was going to say at the end, you'll be sharing with us what you do. And I was like, oh, that's such a fascinating, that's what's incredible to me, is so many things that were so right about us as kids, we find later as an adult, that we still love, or that passion is sparked, and we find ourselves still drawn to what we're interested in, or meant to do. And that's fascinating how that threads through your story.
So at school, the first years were very, very pleasant. As I got older, to about, I would say, 6th grade, that's when the bullying started. So since I was different, that's when the bullying started. And from then, school was just something to be endured. I would count the days first till the weekend, and then I would count the days for we might go on a vacation or something. And my parents had no problem whatsoever pulling us out of school, keeping us out of school for a day or a week or 2 weeks at a time. And I remember also being that my mom would keep me at home to help her, like, clean, or if she had an extra chore that she needed done. It was not unusual for her to keep me out of school for
When you
that.
said bullying, what did that look like in your Mennonite Amish school? Like what would been ways you were zeroed in on?
One thing was my dress,
Okay.
the way I dressed. I remember one time that there was a season as I was, I believe I was in 7th grade, and I remember them just laughing at the way I walked. They would, they had little code names
Wow.
and things that I knew what they were talking about,
Right.
but
Yeah.
they didn't come right out to my face and say it. I remember another instance was, this, boy that sat behind me, and remember I wore my hair pulled back and up
Yes.
tightly. So, the kid behind me, he took his scissors and made these cutting noises with his scissors, and I thought he was cutting the back of my hair.
Yeah.
So I went home and I told my mom that, he was cutting the back of my hair. And so she checked and she said, "Nobody cut your hair." So guess what? I was accused of lying.
Wow.
So the next day, the punishment was to go to school, having to get up in front of the class and tell them that I was sorry that I said that.
Wow.
So that was a form of bullying.
Absolutely.
Not being wasn't a really good player, like when it came to sports and so forth. And they played a lot of softball
Yeah.
and basketball.
Yeah.
And I wasn't real good at that. But that was another thing, always
Yeah.
being they would choose teams.
Yeah.
And I was always the last one picked and standing there by myself.
Yeah.
So all of those are
Yeah.
forms of bullying.
Absolutely.
So at home, I was in constant fear of this sexual abuse. So my bedroom was right inside the garage door. Everybody went in and out through the garage door.
Okay.
And my bedroom was right there. So anybody that came in through the garage could see into my bedroom. I had a door, but I was not allowed to close the door and
Really?
much less lock it. So I was always on high alert for the sexual abuse. So that meant that at night I never slept well. I would wake up with nightmares and sweat just dripping because I was so terrified.
Wow.
I always slept curled up in this tight little ball with the covers over my head, just hoping to be invisible so that I would be left alone. To this day, I still sleep like that. Now, I might not have the covers completely over my head, but I still find myself sleeping like that very much.
Yeah.
I still have nightmares and I still wake up drenched in sweat. I have a really hard time getting a good night's sleep, and it all comes back to that not feeling safe. And
I am glad you shared that, Ruth, and I think that's just so important to put into words. It's just I relate to that, and the part of as an adult of having like PTSD and nightmares, night terrors, night sweats, insomnia. So many people deal with, and I think tend to even feel ashamed of, right? Like why am I dealing with this as an adult? And I think it's just so important because I relate to that and the frustration of the symptoms, and yet there's a reason. And I think just understanding that is in our stories is so shame reducing. And it's just absolutely devastating to have the beauty of a peaceful night of sleep stolen from a child like that. So I want to take a quick second to encourage you guys to like, share, and comment here on our YouTube channel. It helps to push our channel out to reach more people, which is our goal for this show. Thank you so much.
And for a long time, I always felt so tired. Even to this day, I feel tired. I never wake up in the morning ready to go. I feel tired.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until just recently that I realized what that was from. That that actually came from way back in my childhood.
Wow. Yeah, that makes sense.
So as I went and I got into young adulthood, trying to find myself.
Yeah.
Again, at our church, it was typical that when a child or a youth reached age 15, they would be joining the youth group and doing whatever activities that the youth group did.
Okay.
And the youth group was from about the ages of 15 to there might have been until they got married. So they could have been anywhere from there could have been 30-year-olds.
Okay.
They were all ages in the youth group. So instead of allowing me to join the youth group when the other young adults did, I was held back until I was like 16 and a half. And then I could go to a few functions. I still could not go to everything. A lot of that was because my parents did not approve of a lot of things that the youth group did. So I could just go to the ones that they chose.
This is a thread it's been kind of showing up again and again in this storyline is that isolation within. It grips me. This just feels so lonely. Yeah. Lonely.
Another thing that I remember around the age of 15 when I started really asking some questions.
Okay.
And I would ask why. And the answer was because that's what Jesus wants us to do. Oh. That was the typical answer. It didn't matter what question.
It was always on Jesus.
Yes, what Jesus would want us to do. And I remember one specific time that I again had to ask why about something. And I just remember being backhanded across my face, nose bleeding, it was just very traumatic. And so from that time on, it was like, do not ask questions, just do whatever you were told to do, whatever is expected from you. And as that happened, I became more numb.
Yes.
I would stuff feelings deep down and I became more numb.
Yeah. Yeah. So as a teenager, you were starting to ask questions, asking good questions, wasn't received well, and instead continued abuse.
At that time, I know one question that I asked was, I wanted to wear, by that time, the other girls were wearing coverings.
Yeah.
And I wanted to wear the same style that they did.
Right.
And theirs were more rounded.
Yeah.
And Mine was more square
Yep.
with strings attached.
Yes.
And they didn't have strings on theirs, and I wanted a rounded covering
Yeah.
with without the strings.
Yeah.
And I remember my mom saying, "No, we don't wear those because if you wear that kind of covering, they just get smaller and smaller and smaller until you don't wear one." So that was and my dresses continue to be different. A lot of the girls, a lot of people might not know what a cape dress is,
Yeah.
but it has an extra piece of fabric over the front of the dress, and
Yeah.
they normally did not start wearing a cape dress
Yeah.
until they were baptized.
Okay, that was
Whatever-
when you changed. Yeah.
yeah, the church.
That's how it was in mine. Conveniently.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I had to start, I think I was about 12
Are
or
you
13
serious?
when I started having to wear a cape dress. So there was just a lot of
It's
things
just-
like that
Yeah.
I was just very much alone,
Yeah.
and it just felt like I did not fit
Absolutely.
in anywhere.
And I feel like that, and I know that those of us who come from these Mennonite or Amish communities, I feel like really understand this, because unless you're raised in these communities, it is one of a kind. But I feel like there is something so confusing to a child, and this is just from my own experience, of when the standard of your home is so different than even the church. And the church has this rule book, and your parents have another rule book, and that conflicts a lot. And it intrigues me because, we're supposed to be this all in one community, right?
Mm-hmm.
And yet I relate to how that standard, that double standard, it can be so confusing when you're young. And it's really important to have belonging and to have a belief or a standard, kind of strip that from the agency of that. It really is devastating. It really is.
And that alone feeling, you
Yeah.
can be in a whole room full of people,
Yes.
and you have this big smile on your face, and inside you're just
Yeah.
invisible. You want to be, I wanted to be invisible.
Yeah.
And yet at the same time, I wanted to be accepted
Wow.
for who I was.
Yeah.
But at the time, I didn't even know who I was,
Right.
because everything was stuffed down and I was numb.
Right.
So my next chapter in my life is when I got married.
Okay.
And I married a man with narcissistic traits.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I had no idea what that was. And I had no idea that not everybody lived the same way we did.
Right.
Like growing up, for me, it was what mom said. And now I was in this marriage where it was what he said and what he wanted to do.
Mm.
And so, but again, I thought that was normal.
Right.
So I had 3 little girls, and 2 years apart, and it kept me very, very busy, but dearly, I loved everyone, and they were very much welcomed by me when they were born. Yes, not having any sisters.
Yes.
And having these little girls, to me, it was just so much fun.
Yeah.
And then our 4th child was a stillborn son. So I was full term and had a stillborn son, and that was very, very devastating. I couldn't really talk about it. Like my husband and we didn't talk about it very much. And so this was just, again, another part of the grief and the numbness, and it was just stuffed down inside.
Right.
Our fifth daughter was born with her head without a soft spot, and so her head was very misshapen, and so that meant that we needed to go to Akron Children's, which was a big city. I was not used to driving in a big city, and that
Yeah.
was terrifying.
Yeah.
But we needed to take her there for doctors, a plastic surgeon,
Mm.
and they did surgery on her head.
Mm.
They totally, completely reshaped her head.
Really?
So there again, that was very scary
Yes.
and very traumatizing for me.
Yeah.
The fact of always having to go by myself, and I might have had like somebody ride with me.
Mm.
However, I was the one driving, and that was before we had GPS.
Wow.
And so I would have a paper map, and I remember one time getting lost downtown Akron in what I call the ghetto. I don't know, was it actually the ghetto, but that's what it felt like to
Yeah.
me. And driving around until I finally found a place that looked familiar to me again. So
Wow.
that was one of those
Yeah.
times.
So you would have been alone. You didn't have your partner's support in supporting her health in that way at all.
No, and she was very fussy until we had that
Wow.
surgery done. Once the surgery was done, the eyes like had a different baby.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
So that was
No
my
kidding.
fifth one. And then the sixth one was also a girl, and she had very high bilirubin.
Yes.
Don't know if you all know what that is, but that is when the liver does not get the toxins out. And so I had a C-section for her, and I think it was the third day that she was born. I was still in the hospital, and the doctor saw this, and it was extremely high, very high, like in the upper 20s. Normal is about 15 or 16. That's considered
Okay.
high. But this
Okay.
was hers was like in the upper 20s. And I just remember him running in, grabbing her, running down the hallway with her.
Mm.
And they immediately transferred her to Akron Children's, where they did a double blood transfusion.
Really?
So again, this was time spent at the hospital.
Yes.
Very scary, because what that can do if it's not caught in time can cause brain damage. So we were very, very blessed that it did not cause brain damage.
Wow. That's terrible. Yeah, that can be so terrifying.
Another thing that happened when my girls were little, the oldest one, so I was homeschooling. I was homeschooling my girls. I don't think I had
Okay.
said that. I was homeschooling my girls. There was not a church school close to where we lived.
Okay.
And my husband did not want them to go to a public school, so
Right.
I homeschooled them. And so as they got older, they were involved in some homeschool activities in town that were also, it was like a homeschool group. So the kids that were participating were all homeschooled. So the oldest two were in a drama group. And so one night they had a dinner. What they would do is they would have a dinner production. So that's what they were going to have that night. And my husband was out deer hunting. And so I wasn't quite sure. My oldest one at home at the time was dying. And I wasn't quite sure what to do with them, because then they were 6 and 4. The youngest were 6 and 4, so they were 4, 6, and 9. Wasn't quite sure what I was going to do with them, because I needed to take the two older girls to town. And I just remember my husband saying, "Oh, they can be by themselves." And when I when I'm done hunting, I will be home, and then I'll be there. I'll be there with them. But at the same time, if he shot a deer, then he would have been out, looking for the deer and all of that. And so I really had no idea what time he was going to be back. So friends of ours stopped in, and just before I was ready to leave, and they asked if the girls can just go home with them. Now, these were friends, close friends from church, and they babysat for our girls a lot. So our girls were with them a lot. So I said, sure, that would be great. So there was a very dangerous intersection just minutes from our house. And they left. I thought nothing of it. The girls and I were grabbing the last minute things, the older two. And just as we were ready to go out the door, I got a phone call, and they said that your younger girls were in a very bad accident. So it was at that dangerous intersection, and I rushed over there. By the time I got there, the squads were there, and the fire trucks, whatever, it looked pretty bad. And come to find out a little later that their dad actually was on his way home. And so he saw the whole thing happening, but it was dark, so he had no idea that his girls were in the vehicle. And so they were the two youngest were life flighted. Now, by this time, we lived closer to Columbus, so they went to Columbus Children's. And the 9-year-old, she rode the ambulance by herself to the hospital. She had a broken ankle.
Yeah.
And the other girls had some other some wounds on their face, and one of them had a really bad. She broke her femur, which is the largest bone in your leg. So she was in a cast from the top of her leg all the way down to her toes. And that was something that I struggled with. But at the same time, a lot of this came back. There was a lot of extra care that I needed to do to take care of them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it was like I was numb, and I needed to stay strong for everybody else. And so I just shoved it down again. And I was this strong person who did not show her emotions. I did not show how scared I was.
Right.
But at the time, I remember riding in the life flight with them.
Okay.
And I just remember coming into the trauma unit, how these doctors came flying, and nurses from all directions, and they were just in on them all around their bed, doing their thing. And that as well was very traumatizing. But through all of that, I stayed strong, and nobody knew how I was feeling inside.
Wow.
So that was a big part of their childhood, their growing up.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So then you might ask how you kept going. And so despite everything that I went through up to this point, I still kept attending the conservative Mennonite church.
Yeah.
And it again seemed like the girls and I couldn't fit.
I have a question.
Constantly. Yeah.
What type of support would have there been? Did you have any type of support? Like, you're dealing with so much, and when a crisis happens like that, a busy mom of all these little ones, like, what kind of emotional support was available, or was there any in that period?
There was nothing.
Right.
There were a couple of friends that would come in a couple times a week, the first maybe 2 weeks, to help me bathe them. So they were there in that part of the the healing process,
Right.
but as far as for myself, there was no emotion. I just kept everything.
Yeah.
Everything stuffed down in.
Mhm.
And at this point, we were still going to the conservative Mennonite
Okay.
church. We had changed churches, several times, but the one we were going to right then was still very, very conservative.
Right.
And I reached for my Bible. I searched and I searched. Why? Why was I wearing my hair up?
Mm.
Why did I need to wear a covering? And nothing made sense.
So at this point, you're looking in those teachings and questioning why I have to do these things.
Yes. And during this time, I sank deeper and deeper into what I call the depth of despair.
Yeah.
But what I now know as well was depression.
Right.
And I kept sinking down, and it just felt like nobody understood.
Yeah.
I was very careful as well, very guarded who I talked to, because the questions that I had and that I was searching for was very taboo. You did not talk or ask those questions.
In this type of environment, it's not safe to ask a good question.
Right. Right. I remember one Sunday, there was for Sunday school, the men and the ladies divided up, and there was like, I don't know, maybe half a dozen ladies in the class that I was in. And we all had to take turns to be the teacher.
Yeah.
And I literally felt like I couldn't, the first Sunday that it was my turn, I literally felt so sick
Yeah.
that I called and I said, I am sick, I'm not coming. They have to, somebody else needs to. Well, the next Sunday I couldn't use the same excuse.
Yeah.
So I went and I sat in that class and I cried the whole time.
Yeah.
I could not say anything. It was like everything was just dull. There was nothing. There was nothing to say. And that was the Sunday when I went home from church. And I decided, this is ridiculous. There is no answers.
Okay.
It makes no sense. And I took my covering off and took my hair down.
Wow.
And that was the first time that I could wear my hair down for all my life.
Wow.
Felt so good. Felt so
Something
freeing.
that makes sense for once.
Yes.
A move that you have agency over. Wow.
And it felt so freeing.
Wow.
To me.
That's something.
But in making that choice.
Yes.
And that decision also cost me a lot.
Yeah. So you guys know how passionate I am about this work, and I know so many of you guys are as well. So we offer the opportunity for you to make a contribution to the link below. The more you contribute, the more of an impact that we can make. Thank you so much. What did that look like?
My husband
in your marriage,
was not happy with me at all.
Yeah.
He just was not. He was not happy. He was not nice about it. If I would go get my hair done, like trimmed up or whatever, I would come home and he would be very upset with me because in his mind and in my mind, we were programmed very much from a young age. You do not cut your hair.
Right.
And you do not wear them down.
Yeah.
So it was a big change for us. But for me, it felt very, very freeing.
Yeah.
And so that was a big cause of division in our marriage. And from that point on, I was very, very depressed. And I remember more than once driving to town and sitting in the Walmart parking lot, just crying and just not knowing what to do. And on the way back home, there was, I traveled a curvy road, and in my mind, there were so many times when I thought, why don't I just swerve in front of a semi and just be done with it?
Yeah.
There were other times when it was like, why don't I just take a bunch of pills and just be done?
Yeah.
But every time I couldn't do it because I would see my girls.
Yeah.
And so I just couldn't do it.
Yeah.
It took me 5 years to get enough courage. By this time, we were going to a church in town.
Okay.
But
So you left the Mennonites now.
yes, we left the Mennonites. We're going to a church in town.
Okay.
And it took me 5 years to get the courage, remember, I just had an 8th grade education, which I did get my GED so I could homeschool the girls. But to get some education and to find a job, because I knew if I was going to leave, the girls were going to go with me.
Right.
And finally, I had enough, and I had found an apartment in town that was big enough for all of us, because there were 6 of us.
Yeah.
So one Sunday afternoon, we moved our things out, and we moved into town.
Okay.
I remember a couple of men out by the mailbox, kneeling by the mailbox, praying, because I was doing this awful thing.
Yeah.
Of going through, I was leaving him.
Yep.
And I had asked for a divorce.
Yep.
And that was just, you just didn't do that.
Right.
That was just unheard of. And
Right.
you just didn't do that.
What an amount of courage you had. I just have to pause and breathe that in, the courage. I mean, there's just so much history that you shared, and then the courage to move into a safe space for you and your daughters against all odds. It's a lot. There was a lot of pressure there.
It was a lot.
An incredible amount of pressure.
After I left him,
Mm-hmm.
we had both been going to the same church. So he continued to go to that church.
Okay.
And so I couldn't go. The girls and I couldn't go because he was going to be there. It was just too uncomfortable for the people around.
Right.
So at that point in time in my life, I had pretty much had it with religion. I just wanted nothing more to do. There were so many hurts, and it was like, I just don't want any more to do with religion.
Yeah.
And so, for 10 years, I lived a very, very, very wild, messy lifestyle.
Yeah.
Something I am not proud of today, because my girls saw things and learned about things that they should not have. But at the same time,
Yeah.
I was so done with everything.
Right.
And I lived a very loose, messy lifestyle.
Right.
About 10 years after that, this friend reached out to me on Facebook.
Okay.
To this day, I've never met the friend, but
Okay.
reached out to me. It was just my friend. And he told me, I said immediately, it was a man. And I immediately said, what do you want from me? Because basically when men reached out, that's what they wanted. And I said, I just want to be your friend.
Right.
And I said, why?
Yeah.
And he said, you are so beautiful, but your eyes look so sad. So we talked quite a bit on the phone. And through his kindness,
Wow.
I just got this this peace inside that I had no idea. I had no idea there were kind men out there that just wanted peace.
Seeing you.
Yet,
Wow.
after I got divorced, I was a single mom, and I still had kind of young children. At this point in time, I had stopped homeschooling. I sent them to public school.
Okay.
And financially, it was very hard. There were times when I worked 2 jobs in order to make it. And there was a time that I couldn't even afford a cell phone for myself. And so there was a very kind friend of mine who gave me a cell phone that
Wow.
I could at least use to text and call.
Yeah.
It was not modern or anything, but it was very, very kind and kept me on their plan.
Yeah.
So for a good 3-4 years, that is what I did until I could. Eventually, I got a better job, and life was not financially. It was not as hard anymore.
That's a lot. Single mom of 6. Wow.
And sometimes now, I look back and I think, what I did in order to survive.
Yes.
I did it for my girls' safety. I did not want them to go through the things that I went through.
Right.
And so they made a lot of sacrifices as well. But they stuck with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was probably it was after my youngest graduated. And she graduated in 2020. She decided she was going to move to Wilmington, North Carolina. That's where 3 of her sisters lived.
Okay.
So I still had one that was married, and she lived in Ohio.
Okay.
But I decided I was going to move closer to the beach and closer to the other girls, and that's what I did. And it was during this time when the friend reached out on Facebook.
The power of Facebook.
Yes, the power of Facebook. And so I had more of this peace inside. I really did not have a lot of therapy to work through anything.
Yeah.
I was just doing it. I was living. So, but I did really enjoy my daughters and the twin grandbabies that I have. I enjoyed being with them.
Yeah.
So, the next part is very emotional for me.
Right.
And I am going to be real, raw, and vulnerable.
Absolutely.
But my youngest daughter was 19 at the time, almost 20. And I had been in Ohio for the weekend. And I came home. I had my own apartment down there, and I came home, and I had tried to call her. She didn't answer. It was nothing unusual for her to sleep till noon. And I talked to the other girls. Nobody had heard from her that morning. So I got the key from the other girls, and I went to my apartment. I had just walked upstairs, sat down, and I got a phone call. It was a phone call that no mom ever wants to receive.
Yeah.
And it was one of my other girls. She was very upset. She said, "Mom, you need to go to Shelly's apartment. Something happened. Nobody knows what, but something happened." I drove in there, and something very tragic had happened, and she was gone.
Mm.
That was the hardest, the most painful thing that I have ever experienced. I would not wish that on my worst enemy. She was the type of girl that lit up the room when she walked in, and she had lots of friends. She had a social media page,
Yeah.
where she was very real.
Mm.
She encouraged other girls to be themselves.
Wow.
Didn't matter what they looked like.
Mm.
She was just, she was herself, and she encouraged other girls
Yeah.
to be themselves.
Wow.
So during this time, I was greatly depressed.
Mm.
And through all of this, I have the same person that had reached out. In the meantime, there was another. So I had two mentors that really were at my side
Okay.
through all of it.
Okay.
And
Would this be the beginning of like tidbits of emotional support for the first time, pretty much?
yes. And I couldn't have made it.
Yeah.
Without them.
Yeah.
But at that point in time,
Mm.
I realized
Mm.
the strength. Everything that I had went through up to that point, I realized the strength that was deep inside me.
Mm.
I had no idea it was there.
Wow.
But I realized that strength, and I leaned on that strength so much.
Thank you for sharing that, Ruth. I feel at a loss for words. I've never experienced a loss like that. And what you shared about the loss of your beautiful daughter, I just feel speechless and just want to sit in the sacred solidarity of that moment that you just shared, and just really hold space for that incredible loss. And I also think it's so beautiful how you shared who she was with us. What an honor you have as her mom.
She definitely left a legacy.
Yeah.
It was at this point in time. I mean, we were zombies
Yeah.
for the next probably 6 months, where we didn't go anywhere that we didn't have to, except for Hobby Lobby.
Yeah.
We went to Hobby Lobby. We got into a beading, making some jewelry and bracelets and things like that. And that was our coping skills.
Yeah.
So for a while, we had a Facebook page that we could sell. It was Let Your Light Shine Boutique.
Okay.
And that is where, and we sold some of our homemade things, and it just really helped us to cope. And it was several months after this all happened. I was really depressed. And through all of this, my girls were very, very supportive. And they encouraged me to go see a doctor, which I did. And I was on some antidepressant medicine to help, just to cope. So I guess at this point in time, I just want to let the people know that sometimes you just need, even though the strength is inside of you,
Right.
and you have this peace, it's okay to go to a doctor and to get some extra help to
Wow.
get you through during any kind, if you feel at all any point in your life that you are suicidal or you are just really at the end of your rope,
Mm.
it is okay to go get some help. At this point in time,
Yeah.
that doctor that I went to,
Mhm.
she got me involved in a trauma PTSD
Okay.
specialist.
Okay.
And so for quite a few years,
Yeah.
I went to see him
Okay.
twice a week. And he really, really helped me through. Now, I don't want to give all the credit to a therapist.
Right.
I know that there are different kinds of depression. There's different kinds of illnesses. There's different things that you need help for.
Mhm.
And not everybody, a therapist is not meant for everybody. And through all of this, there was a strength inside. And, it doesn't matter what you are going through. If you have been through anything, we all have our own stories.
Yeah.
They might be similar, they might be completely different.
Right.
It doesn't matter what our story is, but we all have a strength inside of us
Wow.
that we can draw on. Today I would like to say thank you for my mentors, who was Eli Yoder and Sam Byler. They never stopped caring about me, what I was going through. To this day, we pretty much talk every morning on the phone. We just talk about whatever is important in our life right now.
Yeah.
We usually pray. We pray for each other throughout the day, and it's just been very much a blessing
I wanted to
to have
ask you
them
about, you had
in my
mentioned,
life.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Oh, that's okay.
I just think that's so powerful. And you had mentioned those men who really saw you and took you seriously and believed you in your story of history from this trauma. They had also, you mentioned, been raised Amish, so they understood in a unique way what you had been through. And they
Yes.
had also journeyed out of that
Yes.
and walked alongside you.
Yes. And like I mentioned before, our stories are all different.
Right.
So we all left that culture
Yeah.
at different times, different points
Wow.
in our life.
Yeah.
But we all came, we like to call it that we came out of our Egypt.
Wow.
Now, out of our Egypt looks different
Yeah.
for each one of us.
Yeah.
But there is just really a power
Yeah.
in having a couple of people join together and sharing with them and knowing what each one's Egypt looks like, even though they're all, they're all different. And
Yes.
everything I've been through,
Yeah.
the pain,
Yeah.
and it's just given me the knowledge
Right.
that I know inside that I am a very strong woman.
Yes.
But
What
I
a
don't
gift.
do it by myself.
Yeah.
I have this peace
Yeah.
inside. Do I struggle? Yes, I struggle. Do I think there is healing, and do I think everybody needs to go to a therapist? No. I think there is also healing other ways. You can for some people it might look like church. I mean, if you can really find healing, deep healing, I am not against that at all. I just know for my situation and my story, I needed I needed a licensed therapist
Right.
to come along beside me and to help me through that.
Which brings us to what you are so passionate about. So, Ruth, would you tell us a little bit about what you currently are doing and what your passion is and what you're striving for in your present work?
So right now, what I am doing is I am going to school.
Okay.
I am a third year college student,
Okay.
and it is a Bible school.
Okay.
But what I will end up with,
Okay.
my plan to take it to the next level, is to become a licensed therapist.
Okay.
I just really, my heart really goes out to people
Yeah.
that need somebody to talk to.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I want to be a safe place
Right.
for people, and I want to be able to have them know that they can reach out to me. They can tell me their story or bits and pieces or whatever they are going through.
Yeah.
And I will listen. I'm a safe place. There's no judgment.
Mm.
I definitely don't have all the answers,
Mm.
but I do have 2 ears
Yeah.
and I can listen.
Oh, what a gift. And I always say this. I feel like you can't say it enough. Is what better and safe place than a person who has shared their own darkness and pain and journey so authentically than you have. You know, like for me, my safest people are those who share their humanity. And it just invites me to share mine. And it's what I admire about you, Ruth. Like from the get-go, I sense such a grounded, peaceful presence in who you are, and a piece of, I feel like a deep peace in yourself, you know, and that is amazing how like that emotional safety just really reflects supernaturally. What a gift you are to other survivors. You walk alongside with such a deep empathy and understanding, and then of course the degree that you're working towards as a licensed therapist. I'm just excited about that all together. It's just incredible. How can people
So,
connect with you if some of our audience, you know, relates and resonates with parts of your story? How can they network with you?
so I do have a Facebook page. It's called Ruth Miller Ministries.
Okay.
And you're welcome to follow me on there.
Okay.
Um private message me
Okay.
whatever you want, or whatever somebody needs. I want to be there and listen,
Mm.
possibly guide them, or if there's things on my Facebook page that resonates with them and they can take it, that is my goal
Okay.
in life.
So you say you're aspiring to write a book.
I am. That is what I'm currently working on.
Okay.
I still don't know is going to have um my story in it, my complete story.
Okay.
I don't know. Will I call it a memoir, or will I call it that it's based on a true story? I want to be protective, and I want to get my story out in such a way that it is helpful to other people. But that is what I am working on
Okay.
at the moment.
So, if you guys would like to be able to purchase Ruth's book once it's published, I highly recommend that you follow Ruth Miller's Ministries on Facebook, right?
Yes.
Connect with Ruth, give her a follow and a like on Facebook. That way, once her book is officially published, you're able to support her and purchase it. So, Ruth, if there would be something you're most passionate about today that you would like to share with our audience, what would that be?
that would be that I want to be a safe, non-judgmental person. I want to listen and support and be there for them without using religion as a weapon. And I want to say yet that, and I might have mentioned this before, but there is healing for everyone. And also healing comes in the form, I compare it to an onion. You might think, oh, I'm all healed now. I'm ready to go. Well, in all reality, when you least expect it, another layer comes off.
Okay.
And you might find that you are going down, you feel very down about something and you're not quite sure what. And at that point in time, you might be, what I have found when that happens for me is that I am getting ready to go into the next phase. So for myself, I don't believe that I am ever going to be completely healed because I think we can always grow.
Wow, that was profound. I heard in that realistic, sustainable trauma recovery. And that is such a relief to hear, is that we can continue layer by layer, be in the living. It's just as an invitation that reduces a lot of expectation around what healing looks like, which is, incredible. Thank you for sharing that, Ruth. And thank you today for showing up and sharing your story with us. It's very inspiring and empowering.
Again, thank you so much for having me. This was a pleasure.
Absolutely.